Namaskar. I will welcome all the faculty members and institutions, those who have joined this session on design effective innovation and startup policy in higher educational institutions. This session is more focused on National Innovation and Startup Policy (NISP), and it is a kind of a refresher session for institutions and for the faculty members. Those are responsible for designing and formulation and implementation of innovation and entrepreneurship policy in their institutions. Before I get into the detail of NISP and the provisions and the steps and guidelines for institutions, let's discuss about two very important components, that is called market failure and policy. So, if we want to understand the policy in a deeper manner, then we have to understand the market and also we have to understand the market failure, because policy comes in response to address the market failure. And when I say market failure, again it consists of two words, market and failure. When market fails to address certain situation, we call market failure. And market, I think we all are familiar with the word market, and every day we interact, we share, we exchange so many things and with diverse kind of stakeholders, and that is called market. You can name it market, like in different industry, even daily market kind of things. So market has different forms. And just to tell you, just to make you understand that market operates in a very natural condition where buyers and sellers are there and they exchange their goods, services, and in return of that there is some monetary transactions. And it happens, market always operate in a natural condition or kind of things, but when market fail to produce desired result or market is not able to take care the interest of certain stakeholders or certain group that we actually want or we actually expect to have some desired result, then we call it market failure. For example, take the case of innovation and startups. So if you will see the existence of industries, small and medium enterprises, big corporations, it is there. You will find everywhere big industries are there, small industries are there, small and medium enterprises are there, and the startups are recent phenomenon in last 30 to or last 40 to 50 years. You will see that there is an increasing population of the startups. Before that we call it is generally small and medium enterprises. But it is always happened that the market always take care the big corporations, and small and medium enterprises, rural industries, cottage industries always face constraints and obstacles to survive in this open market situation. That's why there is need of some certain actions from the government side to support them. Similarly for the startups and innovations, if you will take the situation in our educational institutions, if you will take the situation in different open market, actually startups are always still have lots of difficulties in surviving, in flourishing. That's why still in our country, even other developing countries, the mortality rate in startup is high, more than 50 to 60% or even more than it. So that's why government intervene in terms of policies. And why they intervene? Because startup and innovations are important for any economic any development of any country, in terms of economy, in terms of environment, in terms of social. So considering the importance of startup and innovation respect to the economic development of a country, and it is required to help them, but our current market is not providing enough supports, it's not helping them in a natural situation. That's why there is need of intervention, and government comes, state government or central government or any other agencies, they intervene to help to address this failure, to address this gap exist in the current market, so that by providing certain favorable or I will say conducive climate for these startups or innovations to emerge and grow and flourish. And now comes to the, if you understood the what is market and what is market failure, then policy is the form through which intervention made. And policy is in a layman language, policy is a document, and this document prepared with lots of actions, experimentations and the research, and this policy is a document which gives vision, which gives direction, which spell out the actions for further implementation to produce desired result, to help the interest stakeholders to get a supporting hand. So market failure and policy are actually quite interdependent, and policy is the response to the market failure. So that means generally or ideally government or any big agency or the corporate, they come up with the policy. So policy can be at the national level, policy can be at the international level, policy can be at the state level, policy can be at the industry or association level, or even at the institutions level, like educational institutions are now developing their own innovation and entrepreneurship policy. So policy can be fit at the macro level or at the micro level, but the ultimate objective is to provide vision, direction and actions for the for implementation to produce desired result, keeping the interest of the target stakeholder into account. So this is the layman language, market failure and the policy, and in next 30 to 40 minutes we are going to discuss about the NISP, National Innovation and Startup Policy, how it can be adopted at the institute level, and where to start, how institute will prepare for it, and how they will move forward in terms of adoption, formulation, implementation and impact creation. Coming to the highlighting the need of our innovation and startup policy in our Indian education system. Actually, there are two major reforms happened in the last 3 to 4 years. So the one of the major reform is called National National Education Policy 2020. So if you will see the education landscape in our country, Indian education system is the third largest in the world in terms of quantity, but not in terms of the quality. So we are not producing quality graduates, but we are producing more quantity graduates, like we have more than 63,000 educational institutions, higher educational institutions, and more than 4.2 crores students every year. They complete the graduation, they get into the job market and they compete, they survive, they flourish, they even vanish also from the job market because of the not having the competent enough to survive in this industry or competitive industry market. But if you will see the last 7 or 8 years of the trend in innovation startup, actually it has picked up a very upward trend in terms of number of innovations, number of startups we are producing every year, and we have more than 90,000 startups now. They are contributing to Indian economy, and now we are the third largest in the world in terms of the startup ecosystem. So it is kind of a very positive phenomenon, positive things are happening in our country, and Indian education system has that potential to contribute to produce more innovators, more entrepreneurs, and further they will take the economy, our Indian economy forward. Coming to our national innovation and coming to the NEP, actually in NEP it is clearly mentioned, and it is given emphasis on innovation, entrepreneurship and commercialization of research. So if you will see the curriculum, actually it has reduced the burden of core essentials like the curriculum, and it has given enough time for the students and also the institutions to focus on more on critical thinking, interactive classes and experiential learning, and also focusing more on quality of education. That means producing more creative, productive and innovative students. So this is the what NEP focuses, and there are so many other dimensions, other aspects NEP, which is quietly designed in such a way that to promote innovation and entrepreneurship, there is a kind of a holistic and multidisciplinary system, multiple exit and entry and research, industrial collaboration kind of. So there are some other things I am not going to focus more on, but in a nutshell let me tell you, NEP 2020 actually it's setting a trend, it's giving a wider vision and goal to each and every educational institutions to think beyond the conventional teaching and learning methods and making the system flexible, interactive and dynamic in such way that our faculty, our student, our infrastructure, our resources will be utilized, and our education system will produce more innovations, more startups, more commercialization of research and more creative mindsets. Those will not only contribute or not only with high productivity in the industrial engagement, also they will engage in startups to create more employment opportunities. Coming to the next our focus, that is on NISP. Actually NISP, National Innovation Startup Policy, this is specifically designed for higher educational institutions, and it is a guiding framework to for the institutions to formulate institute specific and customized and contextual addressing the need of the institutions to promote and support innovation and entrepreneurship, and further aligning this NISP with other policy programs to create multiplier effect. If you will see the adoption rate in the last 3.5 years since it launched, actually more than 2,981, like approximately 3,000 higher educational institutions have adopted this NISP. And if you will see the number of institutions distributed across the states and union territories, it is also quite impressive and encouraging that almost in every state there are lead institutions, there are progressive institutions, those have came forward to adopt this policy, and they have designed their own innovation and entrepreneurship policy and they are implementing it. So this is a very good sign that now institutions are getting into this arena and they are understanding the need of innovation and entrepreneurship, and they are taking conscious effort towards promoting innovation and entrepreneurship. Coming to further that what are the key features, that highlighting features of this policy. So first thing is that in 2019 we did a survey, and what we found that many institutions, they are actually have a one major complaint, or I will not say the complaint, actually there is feedback, that is opinion, that institutions are actually not having resource or kind of a funding system, or the kind of a there is lack of funding to promote innovation and entrepreneurship. Actually this kind of thinkings are coming because institutions are thinking, or their approach is dependent on the external resources, and they think that when government and other industry will when government will give some fund, then only they will focus on innovation and entrepreneurship. But actually if you will see the innovation and entrepreneurship, it is not a extracurricular activity, it should be a in curricular and co-curricular and integrated with the existing curriculum in such a way that student and faculty members they will engage in innovation and entrepreneurship activities since the day one of their academic period, and they will engage in all this innovation and entrepreneurship. So coming to the coming to the points actually in this NISP in this NISP policy, what we did, we made a provision that every institute they should plan and they should create a provision of allocating at least 1% of the total budget of that institute towards innovation and entrepreneurship, and they should not wait for the government and they should not wait for the external sources to come and provide the fund, then only they will initiate. And institute, by putting their own resources, they can initiate this, and for that they have to make a provision, they have to create a strategy, and they have to plan, they have to mobilize the resources. Either they have to allocate at least 1% of the total budget, annual budget, towards this innovation entrepreneurship and initiate certain effort, and gradually when they will progress on that, then they will approach to the other agencies like government, non-government, industry, CSR bodies to mobilize the resources, or through other way, the other strategy like engaging alumni and through means they can raise the resources. So this is the one of the highlighting feature of the NISP. Coming to the another, so students and faculty members, when they study or during their academic period, actually it was never encouraged to go for startup and engaging in the startup activities because it was not legitimate. So through this NISP policy, we made it is a legitimate activity for both faculty and students to engage in innovation and entrepreneurship activities or even startup activities, but with due permission and approval from the competent authority at the institute or at the university level. So for that, again, institute have to come up with certain mechanisms to make it is a legitimate activity, and also giving the opportunities and avenues for the students and faculty members to engage to involve in these things. Another area, or another actually gray area we found, which was not yet addressed in any form, that is called incubation units exist in the institutions, and the association and equity sharing mechanism between the early stage startups or like student startups or the faculty startups with the incubation unit. So what we observed that many incubation units, they are getting fund from the government like BIRAC, DST and MIT and other so many government and some even from CSR and the non-government agencies, but when they provide this fund or the investment to these early stage startups or the student and faculty startups, actually they charge high equity in return of that, like up to 40 and 50%. But there is a mechanism, there should be some mechanism to protect these early stage startups or innovators, so that they startups will not suffer and not face any problem in future when they will start growing. And to make it so, this NISP delineate and also clearly state that when in any incubation unit exists within that academic in educational institutions, they can't charge more than 9.5% of the total equity on that startups. So that means incubation unit can hold up to 9.5%, range from 2 to 9.5%, and that's also depend on the kind and quality and types of services they provide to that startups. And also there is a cooling period of at least 3 months to 6 months to have that trust building and have a better cooperation and the partnership before they execute this equity mechanism. And just to understand that if you will start asking 40 to 50% of equity on in a small startup just registered, then how they will grow? You are restricting, you are closing the chances and the opportunity, or you are minimizing their growth opportunities. And the fourth highlighting factor of this NISP policy is called that institute can go, the incubation unit can go with equity, pure equity model, or they can combine with equity and the rental, and also even if they have enough resources, they can develop a matrix of services and with equity, rental and zero payment model. Coming to the first areas that we have, that is NISP gives guidance to the institutions. First is at the strategy level, at the governance level. So for every institutions, it is very important that the support from the top leaders, the support from the key key position holders like dean, director level, principal level, they should have a better understanding, they should develop a positive attitude towards innovation and entrepreneurship, and so that the actions, the strategies they will prepare at the institute level or the agenda they will set, that is more pro innovation or the pro startup culture. So that strategy level, at the governance level, at the top level, involvement of the leaders and developing key strategies, mobilizing the resources, deployment of the resources, creation of infrastructures, everything falls under this at the so it highlights there, and it has certain subsections like creating pathways and pipelines for innovators and entrepreneurs. So for that, institute has to develop the innovation, incubation and pre-incubation, acceleration, all these facilities, and they have to make sure that student, faculty members use these facilities effectively, and also there should be a quality services offered by competent persons, so that actually the innovation and entrepreneurship happen in that institute. And simultaneously it also says that the faculty members, the incubation, the pre-incubation, the management staff and the human resources, those engaged in that in the whole process of innovation and entrepreneurship, should undergo upgradation of their skill and knowledge on innovation and entrepreneurship, so that they will able to cater quality services, they will able to provide quality mentorship and supports to the prospective innovators and entrepreneurs. The third subsection is, sometimes it happens that many institutions they lack certain resources, so that they have to depend on the outside or external resources. For that they have to go forward with collaboration, partnership and also co-creation mode, so that they will bring all these resources and will channelize towards students and faculty members, those are interested to those are interested or those are actually keen to work on their ideas, so that they will not feel that there is lack of any kind of a facilities or the things in their institute. So if something is not there in your institute, you have to bring it through collaboration, through knowledge sharing, through cooperation and the partnership. Coming to the second norm, that is called B norm, that is, it says that there is norms for faculty and students, student driven innovation startups. So it says that while engaging in innovation entrepreneurship, what the norms faculty has to follow and what the norms student has to follow and how they will engage in innovation entrepreneurship through internship mode, through how they can start their startup. Student can start their startup during their academic period, and allowing them to engage in startup activities, in internship activities, in other activities, that is to make them entrepreneurial experience during their academic period. Similarly, the incentives and incentives for giving the academic break of 6 months or year-long break to the student and faculty members, again come back to the institute and continue their study or their job, and providing the rewards, incentives and financial and non-financial incentives and awarding the best innovations and startups on regular basis, so that encourage many other people to get inspired, motivated and also involved in innovation entrepreneurship activities. And norms for faculty startup says that sometimes what happens, faculty's prime role is on teaching and learning, but when they start involved in startups, maybe their teaching quality or the commitment may go down. So it says that it set a limit that up to 20% of the total teaching time you can dedicate or you can spare towards startup activities or the startup for your own startup, and without compromising the quality of education, the quality of teaching that is given to you, or the responsibility you are handling. Similarly, it says that while you are running your own startup as a faculty, and you can't mix the resources and the staff works on, or the employee works on the startup with your academic and with your project or other project resources. So that means your startup related resources, employee staff should act separately, and that they should work independently, and that should not be mixed with your other academic assignments or other academic things. And there is also other guidelines which says that you can't take any salary, because you are not working there as an employee in your startup, but you are working as a founder. You are as a founder, so you are entitled to take the profit at the year end, but you can't take any benefits associated with the employee, or you can't take also in the employee position in your startup. So there are so many norms. You have to go through the NISP documents to understand in depth and all the clauses. And similarly, another section at the NISP which says that every institute should work on to develop pre-incubation facilities. At least the pre-incubation facilities, you have the resources, then you go to the pre-incubation facility and further research park, but you should start focusing on pre-incubation facilities at your institute, so that students will get opportunity to access to the information, knowledge and training, awareness, and work on their idea, developing innovations and the business models. Whereas the incubation facility focus on beyond the innovation, the business model, that is on startup and growth of the growth stage of the startup. So higher educational institutions should start working at the pre-incubation level. If they have already the pre-incubation system is ready, then they have to focus on the incubation, and both pre-incubation, the incubation should go together and in a very coordinated fashion. That is what it is saying. And also this NISP policy clearly says that that IP ownership mechanism. So in many institutions, what we found that institutions, they receive funding support from government or other industry, and it is routed through the institute, and faculty engage students for developing that innovation or developing intellectual property, but actually ultimately at the end of the assignment there is no taker, there is no owner of that in IP, and students, they engage, they get the IP ownership, and they leave the institute, they join the job. Similarly, faculty get the IP and they put in their CV, that is very lucrative and very attractive, they are happy, and institution is happy because in their name there is one intellectual property or there is one patent. But in many cases faculty, they never give ownership to the institute also, though it is funded through institute or through, they use the institute resources for the development of intellectual property. So this NISP policy says clearly says that if any faculty or student, they have developed any intellectual property by utilizing the institute resources like institute's lab, institute's fund and all kind of things, then the ownership should lies with both inventor and institute should be as a co-applicant of that intellectual property. And because of Ministry of Education's intervention and DPI, it has reduced the IP filing rate also. It is now very low and affordable to institutions also. So for any intellectual property generated through this kind of mechanism, so please give institute, or institute should act as one of the co-applicant for that intellectual property. Similarly, it also says that if anything is developed by the student or faculty without utilizing any resources or without using any grant lab facility of the institute, then institute also can't force that force faculty or students to or can't claim ownership on that IP. So it addresses both the sides, and also it suggests the mechanisms how to deal this kind of situations or this kind of cases if arise in any institute through a committee formation. And the fifth one is called pedagogy and the learning interventions. So as higher education institutions their main core area is to teaching and learning. So every institute should develop curriculum, either co-curricular, in-curricular, extracurricular curriculum on innovation, entrepreneurship, intellectual property, design thinking, and either in elective or core credit, or they can offer minor degree, or they can come up with full-fledged undergraduate or postgraduate courses on innovation, entrepreneurship, and intellectual property and design thinking kind of things. So it says that means the more and more such courses will come into action, and student will get opportunity to go through and learn innovation entrepreneurship. Also there is an opportunity for our academics like faculty members to develop their upgrade their skill and develop their teaching ability, mentoring ability through engagement through this academic and non-academic courses on innovation entrepreneurship. So this is all of the thrust areas, and just I have briefly touched upon the points, but for more in-depth understanding and detailed on the clauses mentioned, you have to go through this NISP document. It is not bulkier, it is just 10-15 pages, but that will give you a base, and that will give you a kind of a level where you are, and what the things you can incorporate in your innovation entrepreneurship policy. And the most important component is called when you work on all these things, actually institute also has to develop one impact assessment or the monitoring, performance monitoring mechanism, that how each and every components are actually progressing well, and is it actually moving towards creating the desirable result or not, or the outcome or not. So this is all about the thrust areas of NISP. Let's go to the next, actually how it is being implemented so far. So actually at the ministry level, at the national level, also at the institute level, there is a common implementation strategy. That implementation strategy is not to operate, not to implement in isolation, but through a integration and synchronization. So there are major policy programs, or there are major programs we have at the national level, also the institute level. That is, one is called Institutions Innovation Council, and NISP itself is at the is one another program, and ranking auto ranking of innovation, auto ranking of institutions on innovation achievement is another one. So these three major programs actually operate in a very integrated fashion. So NISP adoption at the institute level, it says that every institute should scan the environment and understand the ecosystem, the campus ecosystem very well, and they have to set a benchmark, and then they have to design their own innovation and entrepreneurship policy, keeping a very long term in their mind, that is up next 3 years or 5 years plan, that how they will move forward, how that institute will be more innovative and entrepreneurial, and how they will produce more innovators and entrepreneurs. So ultimate that is the output they can count, and also the trained manpower, trained faculty, or the trained competent human resources at the institutions level. So NISP gives a vision, that gives a base, that gives a direction, also that suggests the actions and the clauses on different aspects, whereas Institutions Innovation Council established at the institutions will take care of the implementation process, because IIC has certain mandates and they operate throughout the year, and there is a certain action components, and IIC should make the IIC at the institute should make sure that the policy action plan developed at the institute level and the activities conducted by the IIC should be aligned in such a way that that will produce better result, and that will also help move towards achieving the goal or the objective. And while implementation, the results or the outputs and the outcomes or the kind of all these things they generate, that should be measured by using a key performance indicators as suggested under Atal ranking of institutions on innovation achievement. And now around 22 indicators are there under 7 parameters, and it has to be measured, and the impact can be highlighted and showcased to the institution stakeholders, also to the whole world, that how your institute is innovative and entrepreneurial, and also producing better innovations and quality entrepreneurs or the startups. Now coming to the most important part at the institute level, how it has to be adopted, how it has to be designed and the planned. So as I mentioned in my previous slide, that there is a 3-stage implementation, or there is a 3-stage adoption. Similarly, at the institute level also you can plan that at the first stage it is designing one innovation and entrepreneurship policy, or at the institute level, and once it is formulated, once innovation and entrepreneurship policy is formulated, then it has to be then institute has to develop the action plan in coordination with the HEIs, Institutions Innovation Council of that institute, and it has to be implemented. So action plan can be prepared for annual action plan, or for a 3-year and 5-year action plan, so that you will understand the vision, better you will understand the path, and also the goal you are progressing every year, and you can also monitor it on regular basis, and you can also assess the impact you are going to create. So NISP says that your action plan should be long term. IIC makes sure that annually and every quarter and semester that action plan get implemented well and produce output what you are expecting. And the third one is called impact creation, and impact creation is the outcome or the result of policy and implementation, action plan implementation by the IIC. So the joint effort of first and second stage is called third component. So let's the beginning point, where you have to start. Actually the starting point is, first you have to understand actually where your ecosystem is now stand and how they are performing. So that things you have to understand. If you will not understand that, then I think whatever the things you will bring, that will never work perfectly. So first thing is that you have to assess your entrepreneurial ecosystem in your education institutions. So in my last session I had given a very layman language approach to this ecosystem assessment. That is, you can say that equation of systems for entrepreneurial performance. So if you will formulate this sentence, so then you break down, just break it into different components. So that means equation means the conditions, you have to know the conditions, relationships and the interactions are happening within the institute and outside the institute, with institute and the other stakeholders. So first you have to understand what are the conditions exist and how this relationship are there and how the interactions are happening. Next is called the system. Then you have to understand what are the systems are already in there in your institute, in terms of structures, in terms of facilities, all kind of things. Then once you have better understand this relationship, conditions and the system and the structures, then you have to understand what are the kind of culture is exist and what are the current performance of your institute, and what is your achievement at the institute level. Let's understand first conditions, relationship and the interactions. So see, there are three things, there are three ways you are in the three forms you can understand the conditions, relationship and the interactions. First is called resource condition. So you have to first understand that your institute is operating in a resource rich condition or in a resource constrained condition. When I say resource rich condition, it says that what is the kind of funding system you have, what is the resource mobilization capacity of your institute, what is the kind of a involvement of your top leaders, what is the kind of a trained manpower and faculties understanding and expertise on innovation entrepreneurship. So this is called resource rich. And resource constraint is you are operating in isolation and you are not having a resource mobilization plan in place, and you are not getting funding support from outside. Even your own resource funding support is also not enough to go forward, and your faculties are not much interested in innovation entrepreneurship. Your faculties, they never engage, or they hardly engage in innovation entrepreneurship activities. Your student members have no awareness and they are not keen on going for an innovation entrepreneurship. So this is the things. First you have to identify that you are operating in a resource rich condition or you are operating in resource constrained condition. So based on that, your structure, your strategy, your approach will change, right? So first thing is that once you will understand these two, then you can plan what kind of innovation entrepreneurship policy and what component, what clauses is to be incorporated. Then the people. the students, the number of students, number of scholars, kind of quality of quality of research, quality of assignments they undertake. Then the faculty and the scientists, their involvement, their commitment, their upgradation in the knowledge and skill to in innovation, entrepreneurship, in intellectual property. The management team at the institute level, then the leadership team at the institute level, their involvement, their attitude, their commitment, all these things reflects that in what kind of situation your institute is now operating. Then the strategy is that currently do you have the partnership, do you have the collaboration, do you have the co-creation, all these approaches, all these strategies you have in place with other with ecosystem enablers, especially with startup ecosystem, with innovation ecosystem, with national and international level ecosystem enablers or not. If I will ask how many partnership, every institute will come with certain figure that they have a partnership, but actually where in this section I am talking about partnership, collaboration and co-creation with innovation and entrepreneurship support ecosystem enablers. So we have to also scan this. Then once you understood this, once you know that where you stand today, actually you are in a upper side or you are in the lower side, then you also have to understand what kind of structures structures are there in your institute and how supportive it is. Then the first one is called, is there any kind of policy, is there any kind of a innovation entrepreneurship policy, is there any IP policy, is there any faculty engagement innovation policy, all these things you have to understand that what are the existence policies in your institute. And do you have the bottom up or top down approach, because bottom up approach means you design something and you force on the students. Bottom up is you understand the student, you understand the need of the ecosystem, you understand the faculty need and you design. And the top down approach is you come up with certain guidelines and it is forced on the faculty and student members to adopt it. But actually the requirement is it need both sides. Like every policy should have well balanced and mix of bottom up and top down approach components. Similarly, do you have any institutionalization efforts like IIC, and how that IIC is performing, how that IIC is functioning, and what are the structured components you have, like innovation ambassadors and the other programs like impact lectures, mentor-mentee programs, and you are conducting self-driven activities in your IIC driven activities. All these things you have to understand that how your IIC is performing. Is it performing and also volunteer involvement of the faculty members, or it is just simply again to get certain star only you are working. Like that you have to ask yourself, you have to understand. Then what are the infrastructures and the facilities, like pre-incubation facilities, incubation facilities, then IPR, TTO, all these things you have to understand that what their quality, their performance, their actions. And similarly sources, do you have any in-house mentoring capacity or not, what are the kind of connections and networks with the startups, investors, funding agency, and funding and investment portfolio at your institute, and what are the key performance indicators currently you are adopting or currently you are using to measure your progress, and what are the incentives, what are the rewards and recognition systems do you have. Similarly, you have to also understand the current culture by understanding the entrepreneurial motivation of the people or the faculty members. Is it a pull or push motive? When I say pull motive means students, faculty members and students are actually driven with the market, but push motive means they are giving with a force, they are with a compulsion they are doing it. So similarly intrinsic and extrinsic motivation of the faculty members and the students. So when I say intrinsic, that means it comes within or inside, and extrinsic means outside pressure only they are doing it. So you have to understand that aspect also. Then also you have to understand that is there any academic identity or the role models exist, like any faculty member, any student, or any they have developed, reached to a certain level, now they are inspiring to others, now they are motivating others. So existence of such kind of role models, academic entrepreneurship identity is exist in your institute or not, and entrepreneurial engagements like degree of involvement of your faculty and student members in innovation promotion, innovation support, entrepreneurial startup activities, that things also you have to understand. And so degree of commercialization of the technologies you have developed at your institute, like any technology transfer, any licensing of the IP, all these things are happening or not. Then entrepreneurial practice, like are you creating more knowledges in terms of publication, in terms of paper, in terms of innovations, all kind of things. Then entrepreneurial output, any spin-off, any startups, any kind of patents, that things you have to understand. So once you assess all these things, then you have to engage, you have to use the 22 key indicators as provisioned, as prescribed on the Atal ranking of institutions on innovation achievement. So you can go through that, you can devise your own indicators, you can customize the indicators also, and then you have to go for institutionalizing the whole innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem in your institute. So this gives kind of a methodological approach towards building the ecosystem, and you have to develop the action plans to support it. So based on this, as I said, based on this, actually your action plan should be very much holistic and inclusive, so that it will address all the components of institutionalizing the innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem in your campus. And in NISP portal, actually when you will register for the adoption, and there also you will get certain guidance that while designing the formulation, and you have to go through this 10 stages, and completion of these 10 stages, and that will also says that you are actually moving you are moving towards policy formulation. So you will see that action item 4 and action item 6 are very, very critical. Actually many institutions, those have already policies in their place, they have to reorganize it, and they have to they have to collect it, and they have to reorganize it. And those have no policies in their institute, they have to set up a committee, and they have to start from the scratch, and they have to assess assess the ecosystem, and they have to benchmark the ecosystem, and then they have to start what is required for that institute, not copying the policies already there in the, you can refer, definitely you can refer, but you can't copy as it is in the NISP or as it is in the other institutions. And it has to be approved by the competent authority, it is to approve at the institute level or at the university level, and especially for affiliating universities, those are giving affiliation to the other institutions. So in that case, affiliating university also come up with innovation entrepreneurship policy document for the affiliated institutions, so that it will be easy for the affiliated institutions to adopt it, because certain clauses will affiliated institutions are not able to adopt certain clauses, which is very difficult for them, because without approval, without direction, without support from the affiliating university, they will not able to adopt that clause. So certain things they can adopt, but certain things they have to depend. So that's why affiliating universities also have to come up with innovation and entrepreneurship policy specifically for the affiliated colleges. Now so there are 10 action items, and accordingly once they will progress, they have to check in that NISP web page, and accordingly from our side also we will verify it, and the status will reflect in NISP web page. Similarly, for NISP policy implementation, we have revised the process, and now it is only 9 steps, and the step 3 and step 4 is very, very important, because once the policy is formulated, then to achieve the policy objective, institute has to benchmark, and they have to develop the action plan. And that's why this point number 3, point number 4 is very, very important, and other points depends on the situation, you have to accommodate, you have to consider, but 3 and 4 is very, very common, and whatever the resources you have, and within the given condition, you have to design the action plan, and also you have to set the benchmark, you have to set the key performance indicator, so that you will monitor the progress and also measure the impact on regular basis. And finally your impact will be measured, and impact will be measured as per the ARIA indicator, and now we are going to integrate the ARIA indicators with your NISP, so that you will see that how the impact is happening, and you can demonstrate, you can showcase this your achievements to the outside stakeholders. So this is all about the NISP policy design, implementation, impact creation, and also steps and the processes. And this is very brief and short, but I think there are so many other things are there I have not covered, but for that I will request, please go through the NISP document, it's available. Also there is a detailed 2.5 hour video YouTube on NISP is there, so please watch that. You will there I had explained each and every clauses mentioned in the NISP in a detailed manner, so that you will understand the clauses, and but you have to spend 2.5 hours, but I think it is well covered. So go through that YouTube, and for any queries you have to reach to us, either to me or the Surender, who is startup fellow and who is now part of this NISP implementation team, and my team is very prompt in terms of responding, in terms of addressing your queries. And please write to us at startup@aict-india.org, and please visit the NISP web page and go and refer the documents, the model documents, or the innovation and entrepreneurship policy documents developed by other institutions. And I think very soon we are going to list out 15 to 20 good innovation and entrepreneurship policy documents developed by various institutions under various of different categories, and you can go through all these things, you can refer, you can understand, and your committee can also work on taking the local and institutional environment into account, and the local context into account. Every institute has to devise the innovation and entrepreneurship policy, and then further implementation with support and coordination from institutions innovation council at the institute, and further leads to an impact creation. So this is all about NISP, and and approaches. So for any queries, please reach to us, and we are always there to help you. So thank you very much for watching us and listening to us, and we will keep on doing this. We will keep on conducting this similar kind of sessions in coming days also, specifically on NISP and other program areas. And just take a note that no policy will get success with only in an isolation implementation. Policies has to be implemented in an integrated fashion, in a synchronized fashion, and specifically there should be a bottom up and top down approach, because simply top down approach will never make the policy successful. And involvement of the primary stakeholders, especially the student and faculty members and the top leaders of the institute, and then engaging the external enablers, ecosystem enablers is very, very important, because one institute can't provide all kind of support in on their own. So they have to depend on other institutions, they have to depend on external parties to collaborate and bring the resources, and so that they will minimize the dependence, minimize the resource burden, right. So this is all about the things, and I will appreciate all of your efforts. And so far more than 3,000 institutions are part of this NISP adoption, and we will see that, because already more than 7,000 institutions have established their institution innovation council. So we see that now this adoption rate will increase, and we will handhold each and every institute on zone wise and on the state wise, so that there will be an easier way of adoption and impact creation. So thank you all again.